Welcome to the show, Sean Galanos.
Hey man, good to be here.
Yeah. Did I get your last name right?
Uh, yeah, for me it's Galanos. For my dad, it's Galanos. For other people, it's Galanos. I'm not really sure. I mean, I say it different than my dad, which is kind of weird.
Wow. And wait, so say it how you say it again?
It's Sean Galanos,
Sean Galanos. Okay.
but the Greeks would say like Galanos, so it's like it's hard to say really.
Is it Greek?
It's Greek, yeah.
Oh, are you Greek?
Yeah, I'm half Greek, half French Canadian. My dad's parents are Greeks, but from Egypt. But he
Wow.
was born in Australia, and my mom's French Canadian.
Okay. Nice. Well, anyway, good to see you, man.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. That'd be another fun interview is getting into your family history.
I don't think my family would be into it.
Okay. We could call them up and ask.
I'm pretty sure they would definitely not be into that.
Okay. Cool. Well, Sean, I'm glad to have you here. I want to talk. We talked a little bit before, maybe about this post-pandemic dating.
Yeah.
People are getting out and about again and dating. And man, when I think of dating as a married man now for 14 something years, I got married before pre sort of dating apps and so much has changed. And I often feel really green here. So I'm really grateful to get you and your wisdom here.
Yeah, I've been on dating apps in some way, shape, or form for the last 12 or 13 years.
Okay.
I mean, not when I'm in relationships, but
Yeah.
so yeah, things have changed. And at the same time, like it's a tool. Dating app is a
Right.
tool to meet people that are hopefully available for dating. Now, that's actually not the case for all people. About a third of people that are on dating apps have no intention of ever meeting anybody.
What are they
They're
doing?
they're there for fun, for distraction, for ego validation, for playing with fire if they're in a relationship, and to waste your time.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know that.
Which makes it even more challenging. Like if dating wasn't challenging enough, there are these weird dynamics that are also at play.
How do you spot posers on dating apps? How do you do that?
I don't know. For me, I think there's probably more. I hate to say this, probably more male posers than female posers.
Uh-huh.
But I'm a pretty authentic dude, so I can kind of sniff them out. But really, for me, I use a dating app. When I use them, I try to move from chatting or match. So it goes like you match with someone, then you chat with someone, then eventually you ask them out on a date, right? If there's like enough points of connection, I try to kind of like minimize the chatting period and sort of just like ask them out for a quick date, like a coffee or a drink or a walk in the park,
Yeah.
a public, well lit park during the day. So if they give you the runaround at any point in between you chatting and wanting to meet up, then they're not serious.
Oh, interesting.
So
Yep. That makes sense.
I just kind of cut it out because if you met someone in your daily life, you wouldn't really necessarily chat with them for weeks before you'd ask them out. You might run into them at the grocery store, and there might be like some chemistry or spark or like some interest, some curiosity, and then you would ask them out immediately for the most part. So why can't you do that on dating apps also?
Well, hold on. I mean, if I'm at Whole Foods and I have that chemistry, that spark, I might be scared, and asking them out immediately might be so like a massive leap for me. Are you saying that? Because what about the scared person, right? That's just like, oh my God, she's so hot, or he's so. There was something there, but I just didn't have the, courage to ask them out, and now I'm never going to see them again. They're gone.
Yeah, exactly. So you might as well ask them out if you're never going to see them.
Right. You better act now.
Yeah, do it now. All right. So like, I spent a lot of time at Burning Man, and one of the pillars of Burning Man is immediacy, right? So spontaneity. So if it's there and you want it, then ask for it. I see the value in also taking things slow and saying like, hey, I'd love to get your number. And then maybe chatting over text or over a phone call to see if there's interest there. But I've never really done that because I think that asking somebody for their phone numbers, it's a little awkward because you don't know what the intention is. Could be platonic, could be romantic, could be professional.
Right.
So I'd actually just bypass that whole thing and say, hey, if you're interested in single and available, I'd love to go on a date with you. Is that something that you're up for? And it is bold.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Right. Well, it's very direct, and it's just like, let's not play games here. It's just, I'm just going to be myself, and I'm interested. So let's go out on a date and see.
Yeah, and that might push some people away, right? Some people might go, oh, that's way too bold for me. Like, I don't even know you. How am I going to decide if I want to go on a date with you right now in this moment, right? So, but I'm a more direct, kind of bold person, and if that scares somebody away, then I don't really care. Maybe it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
But generally, I think people like to be asked out on dates. It doesn't happen very often. That's why I sort of counsel people to do it.
Yeah, nice.
It feels nice. Feels good.
It does. It feels good to be wanted or to be interested in. Someone's interested in me.
Yeah, asking somebody for their phone numbers is weird. They'll probably say yes. They might say yes when they really want to say no. Is also the problem. That's where the 3-part invite kind of comes in, right? If you're interested, that's part 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to go on a date with you. That's part 2. And if you're not up for it, I understand. That's part 3. So you give them an out. That's a very lowers the stakes and the pressure.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
And that you can do that for the 3-part invite.
3-part invite. Okay.
Yeah. I learned that from Dr. Allison Ash. And we did a podcast on seduction and authenticity and attraction. And you can use that 3-part invite for anything. Like, hey, if you're up for it, I'd love to explore erotic massage tonight. And if you're not, it's cool. We could do something else, right? So this could work for your long-term partner as well.
Okay. Yeah, great. Sean, what's the biggest pain point right now in dating, given COVID and how, God, alone we felt and trapped, and maybe how we're still feeling that way? Like, what's right now, at the time of this recording, late 2021, what is the you see and experience with people as kind of the biggest fear, pain point, challenge?
I think the fear, and it's not really related to COVID or to the pandemic, it's scaring people away, scaring people off, looking too needy, clingy, or desperate by expressing what you want. Right. So I see a lot of people getting into casual relationships, or what people might call situationships.
Okay.
Right? Have you heard of this situationship?
No, I love it though. Situationship.
It's a situationship because no one's been clear about what they want and what they're available for. Right. And so there's a lot of ambiguity. And the fear is that if I tell someone that I want to be in a relationship, not necessarily with them, but that I'm actually looking for partnership, that will scare them away, because somehow we're now sort of in this era, not everybody, but where being cool and not having needs is like the cool thing to do. God,
that sounds so male to me.
I mean, women are doing this a lot too, right? Very independent. I don't need anybody else. I don't need a relationship. I'm happy with my life. I'm filled with self-love and self-respect. And if I tell someone what I want, they're gonna run.
Wow.
It's gonna scare them away.
So scaring people away is you're saying the kind of the number one concern of single people right now that are dating.
I think so. I mean, it's hard to say what most people are struggling with, but this is something that comes up over and over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because it's so vulnerable, right? Just to date. And yeah, so okay, if that's the concern, what's the counsel here? If I'm stuck in, I don't want to scare you away, and then let's just unpack the behaviors. What do the behaviors of that type of person look like? And then what do they need to do?
The behaviors might be just not speaking up for what they want, right? Sort of acting really cool, not being bothered or acting not bothered by the behavior of another person, right? So if they don't text back, in a reasonable amount of time, or if they, the other person makes a plan and they don't follow through with it, instead of holding them accountable, they'll just kind of brush it off as, not important or not a big deal. When it is a big deal. If you make a plan with someone and they don't call you the day of to double check, it is a big deal, right? I'm a big fan of holding people accountable for their behaviors. And so there might be some of that, some sort of self-abandon. I don't really love that sort of terminology, but basically not making waves, right? Not being true to like what's going on between the two people.
Yeah. But are you saying with this type of person, deep down, they might actually care, or are they have they built up this facade that's kind of aloof, and they truly aren't that impacted by this person?
I think they care.
Yeah.
I think the persona is that they're aloof and carefree, but I think they really care.
Yeah.
But to say like, hey, you know, when you said you would call last night and you didn't, I was disappointed.
Right. That sucked over here.
Just to say that is incredibly vulnerable, especially to someone that you're just starting to date.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I see the tendency to like kind of be like, oh, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm a high worth, high value individual. I love myself. So like, you know, screw him or screw her. But really, like, I think we need to be holding ourselves and others more accountable.
Nice. Yeah, I really like this. Okay, if that starts to be the behavior, what's my move then? If I'm just scared to scare people off, and I'm either because I'm aloof or because I'm genuinely just scared and timid or, you know, freaked out, don't want to come across as too much, too needy, etc.
Yeah.
What's my move?
The move for me is always talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like talk about it, talk to your partner, talk to whoever. And Dr. Alexander Solomon has sort of a saying, it's name it to tame it.
Yeah.
Right. So name the shame to tame the shame.
Yeah.
So it could be something along the lines of like, hey, you know what? I really am kind of scared to come on too strong.
Uh-huh.
It's like a fear that I have. That may or may not be true. It's just the story I'm telling myself.
Right.
But the reality is that I like you and I'd love to continue seeing you.
Yeah. So just being vulnerable and transparent with what's actually going on.
And the response, the other person's response is the information that you need.
Yeah.
You know, do they say, hey, you know what? You're right. I totally should have called. I told you I did. I was going to, and I didn't. And that's lame.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to not do that again.
Yeah. It gives the other person an opportunity you're actually vetting in a way right now. You're vetting what's the other person going to do with my vulnerability.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And if they say, hey, you know what? I was super busy. And that's where, right. You're like, and?
Yeah, and is this how you treat people you care about and are interested in? Is this a sign of things to come?
Right. So it ends up being a filter.
Exactly.
Is this the kind of person that I want to invest in and with?
Yeah.
Because we have finite time and energy, you know?
Yeah, totally. People often ask me, you know, dating advice, and I'm not the greatest, so that's why we're talking here. But the advice that I always give is, you know, be yourself and be vulnerable and transparent, because it becomes a filter. If it scares people away, that's probably not someone that you want to date, because guess what? In a year or two, you're going to be vulnerable, raw, messy. And if they can't handle you on your second date, your emotions on the third date or whatever, that's not a good sign.
Yeah. And, you know, the advice to be yourself is great. I like to say, like, try to be yourself.
Okay.
Because
yourself it's too simplistic or what?
Well, no, it's just that, like, you know, when you're dating someone, there's all sorts of anxieties that come up and you're not really being yourself, you know, like,
yeah.
If you're all anxious, that's not who you really are. You just have periods where you're dealing with anxiety. But when you're in a relaxed state, you're probably like, you know, more fun to be around, more spontaneous, whatever the case may be. Uh-huh. And so try to be yourself as much as possible, but also realize that there are these forces at play. Right? Your anxieties plus all of the contradicting advice that you've gotten from all of these like coaches and experts and gurus that are saying like, lean into your masculine, don't be too this, be more that. And then you're sitting there trying to figure out like, what's the best strategy here?
Yeah.
So to your point though, being yourself and being authentic and being like, what feels right is always sort of the right move.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, and sometimes being ourselves is, let's say I'm really anxious, and I'm kind of posturing over my more relaxed state because I'm scared, right? That's really understandable.
Yeah.
But I could name that, right? And like you were saying earlier, I could just say I'm feeling a little anxious, nervous.
Oh yeah.
Whatever, right?
I mean, power move on the first date is to be like, hey, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
And people are like, did you just admit that? Because then now first of all, wow. Second of all, like now I could admit that I'm also a little nervous.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's a beautiful opportunity, right? You could say, well, what are you nervous about? Like, gosh, I mean, I haven't been on a date in like 3 months. This is really exciting. I don't really know how to do this anymore. Or, my God, you're so hot. I haven't been on a date with somebody this hot in a while, and it's a little destabilizing, you know?
And that's very vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you're going to get information really quick about what kind of person you're with based on how they respond to that.
Yeah. But we're also two, vulnerable dudes.
Yeah.
Where like it doesn't bother me to say that I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Or, that I have some anxiety around this date because, if they react poorly to that, then that's not somebody that feels safe to me.
Right.
And for me in a relationship, I want to feel safe.
Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, I can't let go of this name it to tame it thing. I think actually, I love Alexandra, and I think it came from Dan Siegel. I could be wrong.
No,
I first read the quote, but
I read it in her book, so it could possibly. I mean, she has all sorts of different strategies and frames and methods that come from other people.
Yeah, and that's one I've actually heard in non-relationship fields also, which is kind of cool. So I like just name it to tame it in general as a kind of frame.
Where does it fit into like professional contexts or?
I can't remember. It was like 2 weeks ago. I can't remember the context I was in, but I was like, that's really interesting. A person said name it to tame it. Might have been in a freaking Nat Geo magazine or something.
Name the fear to tame the fear?
Something like that.
When you're facing a huge anaconda or something.
Right.
I'm fucking scared of snakes. I'm scared of relationships. A lot of people are scared of relationships.
They are. I mean, they're scared to repeat what they've had happen in the past, right?
Is that where the fear comes from?
I mean, I think that's some of where the fear comes from. What do you think?
Yeah. Or not having role models to have shown them how to do it, like quote unquote, correctly.
Yeah.
Right. Or scared of fucking it up. Right. Yeah. This is something this person's important to me. Yeah. I'm scared of fucking it up. Or I'm scared they're going to leave me.
Totally. Well,
so
that would be the next, because if I fuck it up, they might leave me, right?
Yeah. A lot of fears.
Let's hang out there for just a second.
Sure.
I'm scared to fuck this up. That's a common one I get is how vulnerable to be in the beginning. I think you're basically saying right up front. And because some people are like, well, I'm not just going to tell everybody all my issues, and I'm not going to, tell them I had some trauma in my childhood and that it, had 3 breakups in the last year, or this is my 3rd marriage, or, they don't want to really come out. So talk about that for a minute. How much do we reveal in the first many dates about where we come from, and when does it become oversharing, or is there such a thing?
Yeah, there totally is such a thing. I don't believe in wide open from the get-go. I think that's actually really dangerous.
Okay.
I think it's also probably some form of unhealthy sort of relationship dynamic where you just kind of like, in 12-step recovery, we call that puking on your shoes. Mm-hmm. Someone shows up and they just like, vomit everything that's going on with them. And you're sitting there going like, I don't even know you, know? Yeah. So for me, it's more slowly over time, right? Let's say you have childhood trauma and somebody mentions something that reminds you of that, or where it's appropriate for you to say something like, yeah, I've had some experience with childhood trauma, when my dad left when he was, when I was 3, and it's not really something that I want to go into right now, but it's just something that's like present. Mm-hmm. Right. And then you look, how do they respond?
Yeah.
And they hold that and say like, wow, that sounds really tough. And if you ever want to talk about that some more, I'm around for it. I'm available for it.
Yeah.
Or do they say something like, well, everyone has a shitty childhood. You're like, okay. Yeah, this is good information for me on whether I continue opening up. Is this person safe? Right. So there is a thing as too much too soon.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that you can say, this, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not really proud that I've been divorced 3 times. It's not really something I want to get into right now, but it is a reality of mine and something that I'm coming to grips with and working with a therapist on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So there's some opening there. There's some truth telling.
Yeah.
But there's no, we're not going into the bowels of these issues with what is essentially a stranger.
Yeah.
And a stranger. It takes years before you actually really get to know somebody.
Well, and it's sort of like earning trust, right? They have to earn the right to be let into my heart in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, the tickets to the backstage, you get backstage pass. Not everybody gets a backstage pass.
Yeah.
Right? You just don't just hand those out to just anybody.
Right.
Only the cool people go backstage.
Yeah, only the person with the invite, right?
That's right. And it takes a while, right? So, but I also think that you can talk about a lot of stuff in the first couple dates without actually going super deep, but also being able to touch on it to see are there points of connection, you know?
Yeah. One of the other questions I get, Sean, that's a big one is, how do I sniff out or suss out whether this person's in a growth and development? You know, because I'm a proponent of find people who are willing to go to therapy, willing to read books, willing to learn. Those are, if you're a learner and that's who you are, you want to find someone similar. How do they do that?
Yeah. That's tough. That's tough. I think get a look at their bookshelf.
There's nothing on it.
That's
that tells you something, right?
Get a look at their Kindle. You know, so yeah, or do they have a growth mindset?
Exactly.
Like, that's what we're really looking for.
Yeah. How do you find that in a person? Like, how do you know?
I mean, you could ask them, you know, are there any workshops or classes that you're excited to take or have taken in the last couple of years?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I went to this like breathwork thing. Breathwork and spirituality. You're like, okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's a good sign. Yeah.
That's a good sign. Or like, you know, what's a book, you know, that you've read recently in the, like, you know, have you read any self-help books lately?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I'm reading, I don't know if it's self-help, but I read Glennon Doyle's, you know, whatever. You're like, okay, that, you know, that's
in the ballpark.
That's kind of in the ballpark. Or I've got, you know, Susan Piver's The Hard Questions, or Jason Gaddis's Getting to Zero. You're like, all right, now we're talking.
Okay, we can get somewhere. It's a good sign. Yeah.
So I think that's a way. And I think the other way is that, like, hey, you know what? It's really important for me to be with someone who has like a growth mindset. You know, you consider yourself somebody that has that.
Yeah.
And if you answer yes, like, you know, tell me more.
Right. And if you answer no, I won't be texting you back tomorrow.
Yeah, let's have fun tonight, and that might be where it ends.
Right. Well, you could also, I guess, ask them, like, describe a recent challenge you've been through and how you got through it. Right. If they're like, I just sucked it up, I'm fine, it wasn't that big of a deal.
That the problem for me with that question is that, like, that's what they ask you at a job interview.
Yeah, right.
As like a food server or like a retail job, and you're just like, I don't know, man. There was a fucking angry customer, and I gave them what they needed, and then we got them out of the store without them breaking something. You know, that to me feels a little bit more like an interview question, which
a little clinical, almost.
A little clinical, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you can't give it a shot and see what happens.
Yeah.
But the first couple dates aren't interviews, right? Sort of
what
like,
do you mean by that?
It's not an interview. You're not going there with like 10 questions that you want answers to by the end of the date. For me, the dates, the beginning dates, do we vibe?
Right.
Right. Do we vibe and do we want the same thing? I think the question of like, what are you looking for is totally a first date question.
Mm-hmm.
But people are scared. Again, like coming back to the earlier part of the conversation, scared to admit that they want a relationship, or that they're only available for something casual, or that they don't know what they're looking for, because the other person might not want that.
Yeah.
Right. If you're a relationship person and you're looking for a relationship, and you are on a date with a sex person who's looking for sex and not a relationship or just got out of one, it can be hard to be honest about that, because you kind of know that, well, this has an expiry date, you know, in the very near future.
Yeah.
Especially if you like them or you think you like them.
Mm-hmm.
So the question of like, what are you looking for is totally valid. I mean, that's a great question. And I think people are scared to admit they want a relationship, but I think the way to say it is something like, I'm absolutely dating to be in a relationship. That's not to say that I want to lock it down right away, or that I'm trying to plug you or whoever into my future partner box, but just know that that's what I'm dating for.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what I'm ultimately after.
Yeah. There's some intention, but then there's like, okay, let's hit the blow off valve a little bit. I'm not looking at you specifically right now as my future partner, but that's where I want to be.
Yeah. And it's important you know that about me.
Yeah.
Right. Because what are you looking for? Because you might be looking for something else, something different. Well, I'm just looking for casual dating. I don't really want to be tied down right now. I just got out of a 5-year marriage. It was terrible. I'm not, that tells you a lot, right?
Totally. And that's totally valid.
Yeah, completely.
Super valid. Hey, I just got out of a marriage. I have only had sex with 2 people. I'm honestly looking for a couple fun partners that I can explore my sexuality with.
Right.
Totally legit.
Yeah.
I don't actually know what I want right now. I've been single for a little while. I thought I wanted a relationship. Now my career is kind of blowing up. I've got a sick dad. Like, I don't really have a lot of room for a relationship, but I think if I met the right person, I might want to. Just to, I'm a little confused. Just want to be honest with you about that. And some people, that's going to be fine. Hey, I can live with uncertainty, with a little bit of, relational discomfort, with not exactly knowing what we are doing together, right? Some people are going to be able to play with that, and others are just not going to be able to vibe with that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Super helpful. Hey, are you that friend that other people open up to? Do you find it easy to listen to people? Do other people confide in you? Are you a natural helper in some way? If so, you might be interested in our relationship coaching training program, RCT. We've trained over and certified over 100 coaches now. And people like you that love relationship, love connection, and want to get paid for it. And the world is in dire need of people like you to support them through their relationship struggles. And our training is incredible in terms of the challenge and support it offers. So don't take my word for it, though. Here's one of our graduates who has built a very thriving coaching business, Brittany.
Hi, my name's Brittany. I'm a newly certified relationship coach with the school, and I wasn't always aware that I was going to be a coach. This was a path that I naturally stumbled upon through my own pain. And once I took deeper and really felt this ultimate transformation that I've never felt before in my life, I was like, sign me up, whatever program's next, I'm in. And that's how my journey to becoming a coach began. And gosh, I am so happy I kept down that path, because if there was one thing that I can say about the RCT program, it's that the growing doesn't stop. It is a program that will push your edge and continue to hold your feet in the fire so that you can become a better leader, a better coach, a better mother, a better facilitator. And that's really what the program was about for me. So I'm walking away feeling like I am all of those things. And being a coach is just one more skill on top of that. But the fact that I can really hold the space for other people and give them the transformation that I've received from the school is everything. And that has become my mission. It's become my purpose. Once I received this transformation, I just want to give it to others. And I've been in a lot of different programs. Be prepared to transform yourself while you transform others.
Okay, like I said, Brittany is crushing it out there, helping lots of people, running women's groups, and she is making extremely good money as a relationship coach. And she's a total rock star. So if you want to apply, everyone's got to apply to come to our relationship coach training. Just go to relationshipschool.com/RCT, and we'll see you in there. Back to the show. Okay, I want to come back to dating apps versus in-person meetings.
Yeah.
Like randomly bumping into someone at the grocery store or the yoga studio, or like, what's your, recommendation if someone is just starting to put themselves out there again? Do I do a dating app? Do I not? And why or why not? And then should I just go and actually get off the couch and go to parties and bars and, what do I do?
Yes.
All of it. Okay.
Okay. So the dating apps are great at getting, they will help you get good at dating, right? I mean, for the most part, people are there to go on dates. They're available to go on dates. If you ask them on dates, they're expecting to be asked out on dates, right? Like the whole ecosystem is sort of set up for it. Dating apps just want to sell you premium services and ads. Excuse me. They're not really invested in you actually finding love, but they are a good tool for meeting people who want to go on dates, right? And so like anything, right? If you've never played tennis before, you pick up a racket and you start hitting some balls, it's going to be awkward and weird, and you're going to suck. You're going to be clunky. Yeah. The more you do it, the better you'll be at it, and you might even enjoy it, right? So dating apps are good for that.
Okay.
Good at like,
Practice.
practice, you put your profile out there. Hey, I met a girlfriend on a dating app. I've met all sorts of amazing people on dating apps, tons of great sexual partners, some activity partners, some friends, people I still talk to this day. Only one girlfriend though in 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Right.
not to say the odds are low, but they were pretty low for me.
Okay. Yeah, and
Right,
other people,
success-
whereas other people have found their life partner on a dating app, right?
In 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Random.
So you'll have everything. You'll have everything. But they are a good tool to get you better at dating. Meeting people in person is tricky. It's tricky. I mean, with Me Too, I think guys now are a little bit more gun shy than they were, or trigger shy, or whatever. Less likely to approach women because they don't want to look creepy.
Yeah.
But the reality is that if you're respectful and you let go of the outcome, right? You can sort of like release your attachment to outcome. You can ask people out, and it's not creepy as long as you're doing it in an appropriate context, right? At work, probably inappropriate. Although I think it's like I heard the statistic that like a quarter of people meet in the workplace.
Oh yeah.
So I can't really discount that. I've just never had any like experiences like that before. But absolutely, you have to put yourself out there. You have to go to events that you care about, right? So meetups, right?
Okay.
Bird watching, badminton, clay throwing, whatever you're actually interested in.
Dance class.
Dance class, yeah, totally, yeah. Dance class, tango, whatever. Put yourself in an environment on a regular basis where new people are coming in. Right. So a one-off event is great, but like it's way better to go to a weekly tango class where there's always new people coming in.
Yeah.
For you to meet folks. And then at the same time, you're also doing something that you like to do. So it's not a waste of time.
Right. It can't be something you don't like to do. Like if you're not a bar person, why would you go to the bar to meet someone?
Yeah, and bars are like pretty low probability places anyways. Like it's too loud. You lose a lot of the nuance, the finesse, the sort of nonverbal stuff, even the verbal stuff.
Yeah.
And also I think alcohol sort of, it's a lubricator, but it's a disinhibitor. Right? People act differently than they normally would.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many drunk, interactions I had at bars with women many years ago, right? That it's like, man, I think I would way rather have them known who I actually was, right, than who I was pretending to be because I had lubrication in me. The alcohol, I felt a little more relaxed. Like I couldn't even get on the dance floor unless I was mildly drunk, right?
Right. And it's okay to have a drink at dinner, with your date. It's okay. It's also okay to meet up for a drink. If you do meet someone, you say, "Hey, do you want to grab a drink?" That's a pretty obvious first date. I don't drink. I haven't had a drop in 14 years, but I'll still, when I'm dating, ask people if they want to go for a drink because it's so widely accepted as an appropriate first date.
And you have like a soda or something?
Yeah, I'll have a soda water, and they're like, "Oh, you don't drink?" And I go, "No, I haven't. I used to, and now I don't." And they're like, "Okay, cool." Or if they find that weird, then that's like a filter for me.
Exactly.
It's not going to work if you have 4 drinks a night.
Right. Or even if someone is a nightly one glass of wine, I'm guessing for you, there's enough of a potential value difference that might not work.
I probably wouldn't be bothered by a glass of wine a night.
Okay.
Yeah. It really depends on like
what
you're using it for and,
And you're long past like getting sober, whereas someone else who's more on the edge of trying to stay sober, that might not be a good fit.
Yeah, that might not be a good fit. But also like a glass of wine is pretty benign, or a beer after work. Like, I don't know. We all have our vices,
Yeah.
Yeah. So asking people out is tricky. It requires some confidence, a lot of courage. And oftentimes your brain will get in the way. You'll talk yourself out of it, You'll meet a cutie pie somewhere. It'll be totally appropriate for you to like go talk to them, and your brain will be like, dude, don't bother.
And your brain will start telling yourself something about them, or mostly yourself, really, right? Just some kind of negative self-talk.
Yeah, they're out of your league, or they don't want to talk to you, or they're busy, or they're in a relationship, or you're not.
Ooh, how do
who are
you
you kidding?
totally? How do you work with that? What do you advise people do there?
I try to like bypass it by like starting to walk in their direction.
And you override. You just hit override.
You do the override, and you just walk up to them, and you say like the first thing that comes to mind, and it could be even like, "Hey, I've been wanting to come up and say hi to you for like 5 minutes now, but I just didn't know what to say, so I came up anyways." And then see what happens,
Yeah.
Here I am, like, "Oh, cool, like, nice to meet you. Yeah, I noticed you over there. What are you reading or whatever?" It's not easy, and there's no like, I guess this is where pickup lines kind of like try to pick up the slack. Here's a bunch of pickup lines that you can use.
Yeah.
Here's the technique. I don't know any of those. I don't know them. I don't use them. I just kind of like, can I bring up, I guess one of them is to talk about something that's contextually shared, right? If you're in line at the coffee shop and you see the guy in front of you, trip and spill his coffee, and there's a cutie behind you, and you can say something like, "Man, that guy's going to have a bad day," and see how do they respond, right? Because what you've done is you've opened the door to connection.
And you're relating to the same thing that just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at the grocery store, you see someone with a 2 bags of carrots. What are you going to do with all those carrots?
Right.
It's pretty benign, right?
Yeah.
She could say, "None of your business," and you're like, "Okay, cool," and you walk away.
Yeah.
Or they could say like carrot soup, and you're like, "Oh, cool. Like, what's your carrot soup recipe?" Like, damn, that's a lot of carrots. Is there something other than carrots in there? It doesn't really matter as long as you're opening the door and you're seeing, are they also opening the door, shutting it in your face, walking away? How do they respond? And can you build off that thing?
You're talking about, I think, a pretty important subtlety here about technique versus kind of in the moment expression of what's maybe happening. I think that's a pretty cool distinction there. And I'm guessing when people are scared or nervous, they lose that ability to be natural and talk about the carrots and ask things like that. And they go into their head and they look for the playbook or the script. So what if a person gets scared there and they maybe have a script and it's like out the window, like what's another move they can make?
I mean, one move is always to pat yourself on the back and go home and say, I'll do this another time.
Yeah.
Right. Like I remember, so I've spent a lot of time at Burning Man. I used to work for the organization. I've been like 11 times. It's basically for me, like the ultimate adult playground, right? Okay. It's like you want to try your carrot talk. You could do it nonstop for 10 days, right? Because there's unlimited potential and things to comment on. But I remember one particular night, it seemed like everywhere I looked, people were like coupled up, and I was single at the time. I even saw people, and I was like, I really wanted to hook up. I even saw people hooking up, and I was like, God damn it, everyone. Everybody but me. And I'm walking around with this desperate energy. Right? I want what they want. And nothing I could do or say was going to make it happen. I reeked of desperation. Mm-hmm. And so I turned around and got on my bike and I rode myself home. And I said, "All right, dude, you gotta just go to bed. Yeah. We need a reset here because this isn't going to work." So sometimes you'll want something so bad, and no amount of wanting is going to make it happen. Yeah. And you just have to be like, it's all good. You could try again tomorrow. You don't have to take advantage of every opportunity. Yeah. Nice. Right. Just seeing a cute person at the grocery store, it's not enough to just like walk right up to them and be like, "Hey, you're cute. Mm-hmm. I wanted to say hi to you." That could be really inappropriate. So there has to be some element of reading the room, which is why all of this is so hard. So hard.
Totally. And when we're scared, it's hard to read the room because we're in our hyper-vigilant place rather than kind of a softer, more relaxed feeling kind of into the room place.
Yeah. So my favorite question, and to answer your question of like, what else can you do other than just go home? My favorite question to ask a lot of people is, what's exciting in your world? Yeah. It's a hard one to do cold, right? If you have no
Mine neither.
reason to like
Right.
be talking to someone, but this works at like, airline counters, grocery stores, cashiers, baristas. And I'm not saying ask those people out. I am saying try to use this to get people talking about something that's positive in their life.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of use that tool, the what's exciting in your world, a lot easier. It can come a lot more naturally in other contexts.
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
That one, I learned that at Harbin Hot Springs, like a hippie hideout in Northern California. Yeah. And this numerologist, came up to me in the bathhouse where we're all naked, putting our clothes back on or taking them off. And he was like, "Hey man, what's exciting in your world?" And at the time I was so shut down. I was like, basically get away from you, numerologist hippie. And then I realized the power of that question.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going to get people talking about something that they are pumped about.
Yeah.
Which is so easy to keep asking questions on and build dialogue from.
Yeah.
Which is basically what we're trying to do when we're like meeting someone that might be someone you want to ask out on a date. You have to build rapport before you ask them out on a date.
How do you find out about chemistry? Let's say you start to get the ball rolling. I think chemistry is pretty intuitive. And let me tell you my sort of sense of myself, and then you let me know based on your experience. It's sort of like if the conversation just naturally flows, there's probably some good chemistry there. If there's a lot of awkward silences and no one's asking anyone another question next, the two of you might not have the greatest chemistry. Is that fair? Just basic, or what would you add or tweak on that?
I love that. I mean, I love that. It is very basic. And, I guess the issue with that is that some people aren't really, conversationally blessed. It might be hard for them to have conversation in general. And so they might think they don't have chemistry with anybody.
Right.
And then what? Right. Then what do they do? But I think it's a pretty good guideline,
Yeah.
And flowy conversation that doesn't come around that often.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Where you've got
kind of clicking and vibing and there's just,
but also clicking and vibing, like really that's not a good indicator of long-term relationship stability and fulfillment.
Yeah, I think I saw one of your posts recently about that. It was awesome. I was like, yes. Just because you're like, everything's like syncing up does not mean anything about 5 years from now.
No, but it's a good place to start to go on a date with someone.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're vibing and things are clicking, asking someone on a date's pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you sort of get the impression that they're also vibing with you.
Yeah.
But chemistry is a tough one, man. I still haven't really wrapped my head around how to talk about it too much, because it could be our it could be our attachment stuff.
Yeah.
You got the avoidant and the anxious person, and that clicks. That's a great dynamic there. Recreating the past.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah. And that could be a great healing relationship if both of you are committed to healing and working through that.
That's the key word.
Yeah.
If both have a growth mindset and are aware of those dynamics. I don't think when I was younger, I wasn't aware of any of that stuff.
No, me neither. Clueless. And had you told me that was going on, I would have been like, what?
Yeah, what are you
smoking?
And can I have some?
Can I have some, please? You know me pretty well, Sean. Yeah.
I think we probably have a lot in common.
Yeah. All right. A few more questions here. What about when someone's like, you hear the advice, okay, I'm just going to put it out. I'm going to claim what I want. I'm going to make my list. I'm going to do my vision board or whatever. And then I'm going to put it out to the universe that this is what I'm calling in the one, or, whatever that phrase is. And I'm just taking a stand for what I want. And I've seen that work for people and I've seen it not work for people. What's your thought on that?
I think it's great. I think it's great to have awareness around what it is that you want.
Yeah.
And putting it out there in the universe. But without action, it's highly unlikely to be fulfilled. Right.
In other words, without going to the dating gym kind of week to week, just putting yourself out there, going out, getting uncomfortable, that kind of stuff. Is that what you mean by?
Yeah, a little bit of that. You don't have to make it your full-time job.
Okay.
Right. You don't have to make dating your full-time job, because you're going to get burnt out. Even a full-time job is going to lead to burnout. Right. So there has to be some action of you putting yourself out there and doing things and being a little uncomfortable. I'm not saying throw yourself in the deep end. right? Baby steps to anything. If you've never been on a date before, or it's been 10 years, like you don't want to just start hitting 3 dating apps, 2 singles clubs, and 3 events a night, or a week.
A week, yeah.
dip your toe in, right? And see how it feels. Like there's no real rush to any of this stuff. But I think, I don't know how calling in the one works. I'm too pragmatic for calling in the one.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, like, what's the phone number? What am I? Is it calling in the one and then there's an area code and a phone number? Like, who am I calling? Right? I need steps. I'm a little bit more realistic. I mean, I do have like some sort of spiritual belief and practice that, like, the universe sort of has your back.
Yeah.
But, I think in 12-step recovery, it's turn my will and my life over to the care of God, as I understand God, right? That doesn't mean sit on your couch and wait. Like, your bills aren't going to magically get paid if you turn your will over to God, or if you call in the one. You can have that mentality, but then also need to put, boots on pavement or something.
Yeah.
You got to do the work.
Yeah. I did this once when I closed my psychotherapy practice down. Actually, I was like, I got so clear I was done with that and I was moving to the next place. But I had no plan and I wasn't taking a whole lot of action, and I just watched my bank account drain. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, because I wasn't taking action.
Yeah. You can't build a business. Yeah. You can't build a business that, with wishful thinking.
Yeah, that's right. Like, you can't find a partner with wishful thinking.
Yeah. And, eventually Jeff Bezos will be able to Amazon Prime us girlfriends and boyfriends.
Which is scary.
It's scary, but until then,
you
got to get to work.
Yeah, get to work. What about the setups? Talk about setups for a minute with your friends, like putting out to all your friends, hey, I'm single. Yeah. Please keep me in mind. Is that a good move?
Totally. That's also, that's a more action-oriented version of putting it out there.
Yeah.
You're actually asking, you're like enlisting the help of your trusted clan. This is probably how we did it back in the day. It was like you had the cobbler's daughter and the baker's son. And they were destined to be together because there was no one else in the village.
Right.
I think now we have this issue. This is a whole other conversation, but there's choice paralysis with these dating apps.
Decision fatigue and
fatigue, too many people. And so if that's your experience on dating apps, then take a break. If you feel jaded about dating, take a break. But absolutely telling your friends that you're open to being set up is beautiful. It's also super vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Because all your friends probably already they're in relationships. So you're saying like, I kind of wish I was in one too. And I haven't been able to make it work for me on my own. So now I'm enlisting your help. But that's, it takes a village. We're not supposed to do all this stuff alone.
Totally, man. Yeah. And I think couples can get, I know I can't speak for my wife, but with me, I just get, mired in my own marriage and family and work, and I can forget about my single friends who are out there. And, if they give me a heads up, that helps me consider them, right? Because I'm over here taking it for granted probably that I have a family and everything's hunky-dory in my relationship.
Yeah. I mean, also you probably know a couple folks that would probably be great together, or at least would have fun going on a couple dates.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you got to do. You don't have to future plan for them.
Yep.
You're sort of just putting the tinder and the fire together to see if it
like that. Sean, is there anything really different post-pandemic here about dating, or are we just in the same, like what is different, if anything?
People's vaccination status and beliefs on conspiracy theories.
Okay, that's
I mean, I guess if you believe in conspiracy theories, are they still conspiracy theories, or?
No, but if you're not in one, that's how you would see that person, right? So
right. So people's beliefs on vaccine efficacy, or are we being, sort of indoctrinated, or all that kind of stuff? I think that has definitely like split up relationships.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I think so. I think that has changed, right?
And are you saying on the dating scene, are you saying people are actually talking about that when they're first dating? They're like, hey, are you a vaxxer or an anti-vaxxer or what?
Well, it's on, that's a status on some apps.
Oh, dang. Yeah. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the last time I looked, Hinge had that. I think Bumble might too. And some people aren't going to feel confident or comfortable going on a date with someone who isn't vaccinated. So actually, I got this question last week. Someone said, "How do you ask someone if they're vaccinated?" And I said, "Are you vaccinated?"
Yeah,
that's how you put those words together to ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's whatever. It doesn't. You don't have to be scared of the answer if that's what you need to know.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that's changed, and then people's risk tolerance around COVID, which is actually really just an extension of the sexual health conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sex is inherently risky. There is no safe sex. There's only safer sex. So the conversation around COVID and your thoughts about it and your risk tolerance to COVID directly related to your ability to have that conversation with sexual health and sexual history and sexual health practices.
Yeah.
And that's changed a little bit.
Okay. And I'm assuming you would recommend in those conversations just to, again, be upfront, transparent, have an adult conversation about those things because they're about your body and your safety and how comfortable you feel. And
Yeah, I've got scripts. I could send you a blog or a video on all the sexual health stuff.
Nice.
But it should definitely happen before you take your clothes off.
Okay, we can put that in the show notes, a link or something.
easier to do it before you take your clothes completely off.
Yeah, and are we consent post Me Too and everything? Are a lot of people talking about? Is that an important conversation we need to have with a new prospect? Is, hey, are we having consensual? Do we have a consensual agreement here that we can make love and?
I think consents. I just made a post on. I said that the lean in for the first kiss is over.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people agreed, and of course, some people disagreed. But I remember with my ex-girlfriend some 7 years ago on our first date. So, this is the one that I met on OkCupid. Okay. She was going to yoga. We met up at a bar. We both ended up drinking soda water. And we went back to my house for tea. And at some point, I said, "I would really love to kiss you." And she was like, "Yeah, I would like that too." And we made out. And then I think the next day I was like, "Hey, I don't want to play games with you. I really like you. And I think we got something here." And she was like, "I just got on dating apps. I really want to explore, what's out there." And I go, "That's fine. You can do that. Like, you won't meet anybody like me." And
that's right.
And a week later, she was like, "Yeah, you're right. That was scary. It was scary out there, But we had a conversation about me asking her if I could kiss her, and she was like, "Yeah, I think I would have preferred that you had just, done it." And we talked about this was at the time, and we talked about this recently again. We're still in contact. We're friends now. And she was like, "Oh yeah, the lean in is over. I want people to ask.
Okay.
I want them to ask." And some people are saying that asking shows a lack of confidence. Right? They want the man generally to be more assertive and to just go for it. Yeah. But I think that asking is what shows the most amount of confidence and respect.
Mm-hmm.
For the other person's experience.
Yeah.
Because it can be really traumatic to lean into someone for a kiss that doesn't want it, right? So I'm talking about consent from the very get-go, even for the first kiss, and then to continue having that conversation as your relationship progresses or as the forms of contact progress.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm not saying every time you want to touch your partner, you have to ask. Eventually, you sort of build this environment of safety where you have these understandings.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're verbal, sometimes they're nonverbal.
Totally.
But when you don't know someone, definitely err on the side of way more consent than you would normally go for.
Yeah, I mean, we're living in that kind of time right now, and it feels very considerate as I hear you talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also sweet, and it can be really hot. It can be really hot to say like, I would really, I don't frame things like, "Can I take your shirt off?" It's more like, "I'd love to take your shirt off. Are you up for it?"
Mm-hmm.
"I'd love to" is not actually a question. It's an expression of interest.
Yeah, desire. Most
people will see it as a question.
Yeah.
"I'd love to get naked with you." Yeah, right. I would love that too. Okay, cool. Consent, done.
Yeah.
Should we do it now? Yeah, let's get naked. Boom. Yeah. Doesn't have to be awkward.
Yeah.
And even if it is, it's okay. Like, it's like tennis. You'll get better at it.
You will. Ooh, and it can get awkward.
For sure.
One more question on the COVID, and then we can start wrapping up here. Anything else you want to say about the COVID, post-COVID, these times we're living in, and dating to people who are single? Any other tips, advice?
I don't know, man. I mean, we're living in the States, so we have access to healthcare, we have access to the vaccine. A lot of people don't. Mm-hmm. A lot of people live in areas or with people that are immunocompromised, and so for them the risk may be a lot higher. And so for them it might mean going way slower and making sure that that the other person that they're dating is reasonably safe as well. So there can be. I think I remember at the very beginning of this thing, I remember making a video saying like, hey, in March of last year, if you're thinking about taking a break from dating, like now's a good time as we like kind of figure out what the hell is going on. Right. Yeah. And some people never stop dating, right? Just like some people don't care about STIs.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be about finding someone who matches your risk tolerance. Uh-huh. And that might make it a little bit more challenging, but I'm not hearing too many challenges out there with regards to COVID.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sean, this has been super helpful. I know the listeners are going to get a ton of value. We could keep going, and I want to honor your time here. Where's the best place people can find you and more nuggets from your wisdom?
My website, SeanGalanos.com. SeanGalanos. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube at The Love Drive.
Yep. Got You're very active there.
Yeah. Very active. Yeah.
And put out great content. Yep.
YouTube's the next frontier. You have to dominate every vertical. So I'm going after YouTube right now.
Oh, nice.
So the Love Drive podcast, I have 7 courses that you can get on my website, from emotional availability to modern dating. That's my latest course. Healthy communication. There's one on great sex, on emotional availability, on getting your needs met. And that's it.
Nice. Cool, man. One last question. I always ask my guests this question. If I was standing in a room full of 1,000 high schoolers and I could only tell them one thing about relationships or love, and you were whispering in my ear, what would you want me to tell that group of young people?
If you like someone, just tell them that you like them.
All right. Nice.
Especially high schoolers and middle schoolers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't play cool. Just tell them you like them. It'll be okay.
Yeah. Be direct. And someone's going to receive that, right? The right kind of person is going to be like, wow, thanks.
Oh shit, me too.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you told me, because I never would have been had the courage to tell you. So I'm glad someone did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sweet.
Be that someone,
Yeah. Well, I love your courage and direct style here in making things so practical for us. Thanks again, man.
Man, I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your time.
All right. Action steps. First, go check out Sean Galanos at SeanGalanos.com. You can also look him up on Instagram or in our show notes at The Love Drive on TikTok and Instagram, and his YouTube channel that he just started, I think. Yeah, he's got tons of great content, all right? And it sounds like products that you can check out, etc. Next, if you are single and something resonated here, take one action step. It could be that thing where I'm going to approach someone the next time I'm in a public place. I'm just going to go up to him and override my fear, and I'm just going to talk to the person. And we gave a couple of examples there. Or your action step could be, okay, I'm going to get on my dating app. I'm going to be pretty real. Or it could be, all right, that next first or second or third date, I'm going to be transparent. I'm not going to overshare, but I'm going to be transparent about my nervousness, for example. Okay, pick one small action step from this episode and actually do it within the next week. Okay, you have 1 week to get this done. And then report back to your accountability person. That could be another podcast listener. It could be someone in our Relationship School community group, which is at relationshipschool.com/community. Could be there. Or it could be just a friend, that listens to this podcast with you. But find someone to help hold you accountable. All right. Awesome. As always, come to our free trainings. Whatever we've got going on here, you can find out a lot more about it at relationshipschool.com/training. And if you haven't taken our conflict quiz, do that. It's right on the main site, relationshipschool.com. Thanks, everyone, for subscribing, listening, and leaving us a review, sharing this with your friends, and most importantly, applying yourself. And we'll talk soon. If you're in pain relationally and you need immediate support, our coaches can help you. I've trained almost 100 coaches at this point, relationship coaches that are amazing humans, and they have the chops to help you get through this hard time, this hard moment you're going through. Or if you want to actually hire a coach and have someone in your corner to continue to up-level your communication skills, your listening skills, your conflict skills, these folks are incredible. Okay. So all you need to do is go to relationshipschool.com/MRC. That stands for My Relationship Coach. So relationshipschool.com/MRC. All right. If you want immediate, direct, effective help, check them out. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share one of these videos with a friend. We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships. And you are one of them, so thank you.